Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanic. And if you enjoy this fanic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanic like this. And now let's start the fanic.
Come on, Akane-chan. We wouldn't want to be late for the all-important team selections now, would we? Naruto shouted sarcastically. Of course we wouldn't. Now how do I look? Akane asked as she came down the stairs and did a little twirl. She wore a crimson tank top with the kanji for Vixen on the front and tight black jeans. She wore black fingerless gloves with the left one reaching up to her elbow. Her hair fell freely down her back and she chose to tie her forehead protector around her left bicep instead. Just as beautiful, why and deadly as always. Naruto replied with a grin as he gave her a peck on the lips. He wore a form-fitting black t-shirt with a white laughing skull on the front and black jeans as well. He wore metal-plated black fingerless gloves and chose to tie his forehead protector around his left bicep as well. You always know what to say. Akane cooed as the couple left the Namikaze estate and made their way to the academy, where team selections were taking place. On the way there, both of them caused heads to turn as they walked down a street. The males were wondering who the beautiful and why redhead was while the females were discussing about the handsome and feral-looking blonde. I wonder how funny their reactions will be when they realize that I'm the demon brat and you're the Kyuubi no Yoko. Naruto whispered to his companion. Probably something involving mass panic and screaming about killing the demon brat and his whore. Akane snickered at the image in her mind. Well, I see the academy ahead. Shall we see what team we are on, my dear? Naruto grinned at the demoness. Why, I believe we should. Akane replied with a matching grin as they walked towards the academy. In Iruka's class. Iruka sighed as he watched his class interact with each other. He had no idea how 3/4 of the class were going to make it as a shinobi. Out of the entire class, he could only sort out a few that actually deserved and could make it as a shinobi. Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, Aburame Shino, Inazuka Kiba, and Uchiha Sasuke. That's about all, and even these few have some problems to sort out. Iruka frowned slightly. Shikamaru is a genius but is lazy like all the males of his clan. Choji is strong and talented but is too kind for his own good. Shino has to open up more. Kiba is too brash and headstrong, and Sasuke, well, I don't even know where to begin with him. Iruka glanced over the rest of the class. Haruno Sakura. Extreme fangirl syndrome and only passed the test barely thanks to her book smarts and her mother being on the council, Iruka thought as he observed the pink-haired girl with an oversized forehead. Yamanaka Ino. Falls into fangirl category as well, though much better than Sakura. Has the potential to surpass her father if only she trained harder, Iruka thought as he looked at the blonde-haired girl. Hyuga Hinata. Not a fangirl. Okay, still a fangirl but of a different person. Too shy and lacks confidence, also too kind for her own good. Iruka mused as he looked at the Hyuga heiress. I just hope their Junin senseis can knock their bad habits out of them. Oh well, time for an announcement. Iruka sighed as he discreetly performed hand seals under his desk. Shut up and get back to your seats. Iruka shouted using the demon head enlargement technique, causing the class to scramble for their seats and quiet down immediately. Alright class, today we have 2 extra participants in the team selections, and before you complain, they have been approved by Hokage-sama himself, so if you have a problem take it up with him. Iruka said, causing the few students that looked ready to protest to settle back down with a grumble. You two can come in now. The class looked at the door in silence as it slowly swung open and 2 students walked in. Almost the entire class blushed at the 2 figures that walked in. The males were staring, some were drooling, at the red-haired beauty that walked in, while the females were ogling. Also some were drooling, at the handsome male. Class, I would like to introduce you to Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Akane. Iruka announced before bracing himself. Nani? The entire class roared in shock and surprise. Well, everyone except Shino and Shikamaru, with the former just raising an eyebrow and the latter just being too lazy to care. Iruka-sensei, what is Naruto Baka doing here? He failed the Genin exams, remember? Sakura screeched like the howler monkey she was descended from. Well, he passed a secret test made by Hokage-sama himself. Iruka was interrupted by Naruto himself. Mizuki was actually a traitor who used me to steal the forbidden scroll of seals from the Hokage Tower, but I stopped him after I figured it out and the old man promoted me to genin for that. Naruto explained in one breath. Naruto Baka, stop lying. There's no way you could win against a chunin. Sakura moved to punch him, but Naruto merely yawned and sidestepped before grabbing her by the hair and throwing her across the room and into the back wall. Everyone gaped at him, not at his strength but for flinging his Sakura-chan across the room and into a wall. What Naruto said is true, and can someone please get Sakura out of the wall? Iruka sighed and rubbed his temple. The day had just started and he already felt a headache forming. Yo Naruto, you didn't tell me you had a super hot sister. Kiba shouted as he eyed Akane. Akane-chan isn't my sister. She is my mate, so stop eyeing her unless you want me to rip out your eyeballs and shove them up your. Naruto growled at him. Oh shit, sorry about that, man. Kiba apologized immediately because he was from the Inuzuka clan and they knew not to take another person's mate, especially a friend's. Mate. A timid voice squeaked out, causing the class to turn and look at the source, which turned out to be Hinata, who blushed from being the center of attention. Yes, my mate, as in my life companion, the person who I sleep with and eventually bear my children. Do I need to explain further? Naruto clarified. And no, and Naruto-kun has a girlfriend A and he already slept W with her. Hinata felt tears threaten her vision as she rose from her seat and ran out of the room crying. Any more questions? Naruto asked as if nothing had happened. Naruto Baka, how dare you treat Hinata like that? She loved you since the academy started and you just dumped her aside. Sakura screeched, having forgotten that Naruto had flung her across the room. So, Naruto replied uncaringly. What do you mean so? Sakura screeched even louder, causing everyone to cover their ears in pain. First off, Haruno, stop screeching like a monkey or I swear I will rip out your vocal box and send you home to your stupid mother piece by piece. Naruto snarled as he glared at her and released a small amount of his killing intent at her. Sakura paled and gulped nervously but nodded her head. Good. Now I ask you why when I ask you for a date before, you never accept and hit me instead. Naruto looked at her intently. I love Sasuke-kun and I don't love you. Sakura stammered out, unsure if that would be the correct answer. Correct. So why should I accept her so-called love, when I don't love her back? More importantly, why didn't she tell me before? I'm sure everyone noticed that I am an orphan and how the villagers ignore me, so why didn't she offer me her companionship when I needed it, huh? Tell me, what kind of love is that? Naruto's voice turned demonic towards the end as he recalled all the times he was lonely and nobody was there to help him or comfort him. Calm down, Naru-kun. We don't want to scare the cute little genins. Akane whispered into his ear. Naruto took a deep breath and let his rage subside. Thanks, Akane-chan. Let's go take a seat, shall we? Naruto walked to the back of the class and sat in the empty seat beside Shikamaru, and Akane just plopped down on his lap, causing many of the males in the class to grumble about lucky bastards. Yo Naruto, what's with the change? Shikamaru asked lazily as he lifted his head from the table slightly to turn and look at him. Felt like it. Naruto replied with a shrug. Oh, troublesome, Shikamaru mumbled as he went back to sleep while Naruto just ran his hands through Akane's hair as Iruka called out the different teams. He listened absent-mindedly. Team 7 will consist of Uchiha Sasuke, HN, Haruno Sakura. Cha true love prevails over all. Hey no fair Iruka-sensei. Why does forehead girl get to be with Sasuke-kun? Shut up. The teams were decided by Hokage-sama, so complain to him if you've got a problem. And the final member is Sai, your Junin-sensei is Hitaki Kakashi. Naruto looked around the room and spotted an extremely pale-skinned boy wearing tight-fitting clothes. He just couldn't help but comment. The brooding king of the emos, Banshee McFlatchest and a closet gay, Damn, I pity the poor sap that has to teach you. Naruto said with a grin, causing Akane and the majority of the class to snicker. So says the failure of a ninja. Sasuke retorted with his signature smirk, causing his fan club to swoon. Cha, Sasuke-kun is right, Naruto baka. Sakura stared at Sasuke with hearts for eyes. Shut up. Naruto, stop antagonizing them. Iruka shouted. Whatever you say, sensei. Naruto replied indifferently as he continued playing with Akane's hair, earning a grateful purr from said demoness. Team 8 will consist of Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata. Your Junin sensei is Yuahi Kurenai. Will someone find Hinata and tell her? Team 9 is still active from last year, so Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji and Yamanaka Ino. Your Junin sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. What? I get stuck with Lazy Boy and the fat kid. Ino shouted. I am not fat, just chubby. Troublesome. Shut up. Now Team 11 will consist of Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Akane only. Your Junin sensei is Mitarashi Anko. Iruka said, but was interrupted again by Sasuke this time. Hey, why does the Dobi get special treatment but I, Uchiha Sasuke and Elite, don't? Sasuke demanded, causing Naruto to snort in amusement. If the Uchiha clan is so great, then where are they? Oh, that's right. Your brother killed them all single-handedly. Elite's my. Naruto smirked at the look of rage that crossed Sasuke's face. How dare you speak of my clan in that manner? I'll show you the power of the Uchiha clan. Sasuke shouted as he ran through several hand seals. Kaden. Gukaku no Jutsu. Fire release. Grand fireball technique. Sasuke shot a huge ball of fire right at Naruto before Iruka could stop him. Naruto just held up one hand. Hado number 33. Sukatsui. Hado number 33. Blue fire, crash down. Naruto whispered as head-sized ball of blue fire shot from his palm and impacted against the larger fireball and cancelled it out. Everyone in the class gaped again. They had just seen Naruto use an unknown technique without any hand seals, and it managed to cancel out a Gukaku no Jutsu. Sasuke, stand down this instance or I will send you to Hokage-sama for attacking a fellow Konoha shinobi. Iruka shouted once he snapped out of his stupor, causing Sasuke to sneer at him but sat back down. Now there is an hour interval before your Junin senseis arrive, so you can go get something to eat before reporting back to the academy. Sure thing, sensei. Naruto grinned as he scooped up Akane bridal style and sank into a shadow portal. Shikamaru's eyes widened in surprise as he saw this but decided to question Naruto later. Hokage's office. The Junin senseis were gathered around the Sandame's crystal ball and had witnessed the entire scene take place. A few were muttering about the demon brats speaking bad about the Uchihas. Hokage-sama, it is clear that the demon brat is out to make trouble for Uchiha-sama. You should suspend his shinobi license immediately. A random Junin shouted. He will do no such thing. If anyone deserves to have their shinobi license revoked, it should be that Uchiha brat. A voice shouted from the back. Everyone turned around to see Anko leaning against the wall whilst biting on a dango stick. Ah, Anko, I see you made it. Hiruzen smiled kindly at her. Whatever, old man, so those two were the ones you told me about. Anko walked towards the crystal ball, which had paused at the scene of Naruto using an unknown attack. Yes, I trust you don't have any problems. Hiruzen asked. None at all. Now if you excuse me, I have to go greet my team. Anko smirked as she vanished in a swirl of leaves. The rest of the Junin except one filed out of the office. Kakashi, don't you have a team as well? Hiruzen looked at the tall, silver-haired masked Junin, who looked at the clock on the wall. Yes, but I still have 3 hours to go. Kakashi drawled lazily, causing the old Hokage to sweat drop at the reply. Kakashi looked at him seriously with his exposed eye. Hokage-sama, why wasn't Uzumaki Naruto placed on my team even though I requested him? There are 2 reasons for me doing so. The first being something occurred on the night of Mizuki's betrayal that completely changed Naruto, as you would have noticed. And before you ask, I am not allowed to tell you what happened. The second reason is that both Naruto and Anko had lead difficult lives, and I hope that by placing them together, they will find something akin to comfort in each other. Hiruzen puffed on his pipe as he saw Kakashi think about it. While that is true, I wanted to train Minato-sensei's child, but instead you stuck me with, and I quote, the brooding king of the emos, Banshee McFlatchest and a closet gay. Kakashi shivered slightly at the last one. I understand how you feel, Kakashi, but the council has me overruled on the decision that you are to train the Uchiha, and you saw what would happen if Naruto is on the same team as him. Hiruzen gestured to the frozen image on the crystal ball. Besides, I want you to keep your eye on Sai. I believe that he is a member of Danzo's Root organization. Root, huh? What do you want me to do? Kakashi asked as he leaned against the wall behind him with his arms crossed in front of his chest. Just report any suspicious behavior and keep an eye on the Uchiha as well. Report to me if his conduct becomes too aggressive. Hiruzen said as he took another puff. Understood, Hokage-sama. Kakashi saluted before leaving via Shunshin. Back in the class, Naruto observed the rowdy class from his seat but groaned as Akane shifted in his lap. He grabbed her by the waist to stop her from making any unnecessary movements. Stop moving, Akane-chan. Naruto whispered into her ear. Fine, fun killer. Akane pouted, but Naruto just chuckled and turned her around so she was facing him and started a full-blown make-out session. The majority of the class watched with matching blushes as the couple continued, not paying them any attention. A few had different thoughts though. How dare that Dobi insult the might of the Uchihas? I have to find a way to pay him back. I know, I will take his girlfriend from him and her right in front of him. Besides, she is both beautiful and looks strong. A perfect candidate to revive the Uchiha clan with. Sasuke plotted within his own head. Stupid Naruto Baka insulting Sasuke-kun and his greatness. How dare he insult Sasuke-sama? We will beat him up, cha. Get back in your hole, you stupid split personality. Sakura argued with herself. That stupid bitch must have influenced my Naruto-kun into sleeping with her. Everyone knows that Naruto-kun belongs to me and I loved him way longer than that stupid red-haired. Hinata growled angrily inside her mind as she watched the two continue their make-out session. Troublesome, but could you two stop? The Junin senseis are about to arrive. The pair turned to a lightly blushing Shikamaru. Why? They asked in unison, causing Shikamaru to blink. Never mind. Troublesome people. Shikamaru sighed as he placed his head back down on the desk just as the Junin senseis came in. Team 10, meet me at the barbecue restaurant in 10 minutes. A Junin with a beard and smoking a cigarette said before leaving the room. Team 8, meet me at training ground 16. A raven-haired, red-eyed beauty said, but before she could leave, a tan blur broke in through the window and a black banner unfurled. On the banner was written, the Y in single, Mitarashi Anko. And the tan blur revealed itself to be Anko indeed. Kurenai just sighed at her friend's antics before leaving the room. I want my team to meet me at the local dango shop in 5 minutes, and if you're not there within that time frame, you will have to pay for my meal. Anko laughed as she jumped out through another window and shattering it in the process. She seems like a nice woman. Akane broke the silence, causing everyone except Naruto to look at her as if she were mad. I think so too. Now let's get to that dango shop before I end up paying for her meal. Naruto said as the pair sunk into another shadow portal. Several seconds passed before Sakura realized something. Where the hell is our sensei? Dango shop. Anko appeared at the entrance of her favorite dango shop and walked in. She looked at the clock on the wall and saw that she had arrived in a minute. Should take them about another minute or so to get here. She mused before a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. Yo, Anko-chan, what took you so long? Anko turned around to see that Naruto and Akane were already seated at a table, happily munching on their food, causing her to blink and stare. How the hell did you two get here before me? Anko asked as she sat down beside opposite the two. Trade secret. Naruto smirked at the pout on Anko's face before she shrugged and grabbed a stick of dango and bit into it. So the Junin Sensei handbook says that we have to get to know each other better. Tell me your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams. Anko explained and pointed at Akane to suggest that she start first. My name is Uzumaki Akane. My likes include foxes, Naru-kun, the color red and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes include the Uchihas, their Keke Genkai antholes. Hobbies are training and ing Naru-kun. Dreams for the future are to bear Naru-kun's children and kill a certain Uchiha. Akane growled the last part, causing Anko to grin at her likes, blush at her hobbies and looked confused at her dreams. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. My likes include Akane-chan, Shinigami, foxes, the color black, my sword and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes are the similar to Akane-chan's plus the majority of the village. Hobbies are training and ing Akane-chan. Dreams for the future are to help Akane-chan accomplish hers, get a big family and meet the Shinigami. Naruto winked at Anko as he told her that he wanted a big family, causing her to blush slightly. Alright, my name is Mitarashi Anko. My likes include snakes, torturing people, blood, dango, sake and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes include holes, rapists, ISTS and my ex-sensei. Hobbies are torturing prisoners and eating dango. My dream is to kill my ex-sensei in the most painful and brutal way possible. Anko finished her introduction with a grin. I think we are going to get along just fine. Naruto smirked as Akane nodded her head in agreement. I think so too. Now I want you to meet me at Training Grounds 44 first thing tomorrow morning for a test. Anko told them as they left the shop and went their separate ways. Akane yawned as she walked with Naruto, who turned to her with a look of concern. You must be tired after today since you're still recovering your power. Why don't you head back and rest first since I have some things to do? Naruto told the fox demoness, who gave him a look of gratitude as she vanished in a swirl of flames. Naruto whistled as he walked down the street before suddenly flinging 3 kunai behind him. He turned around to see Konohamaru emerging from behind a large piece of paper painted to look like a fence. He. Very impressive to have seen through my cover. It seems the rumors about you are true, Konohamaru said as he emerged from behind the paper. Great, him again. Naruto sighed inwardly as he recalled what had happened that caused them to cross paths. Flashback no jutsu. Yo old man, I'm here to submit mine and Akane-chan's shinobi registration forms. Naruto entered the Hokage's office through the window. Oh Naruto-kun, right on time. Just hand them over for me to check. Hiruzen chuckled as he took the 2 slips of paper from him and read through them. At least your new attitude works better for your shinobi career. I swear you would have messed up your picture if you had your old attitude. I would have, but I'm not the old me anymore. Naruto replied seriously as he leaned against the wall beside the Hokage's desk. Right, everything seems to be in order except why does Akane have your surname? Hiruzen asked as he read through the sheet of paper again. Akane-chan doesn't have a surname, so I gave her mine since we are mates. Naruto shrugged. Won't that seem suspicious to your classmates? Hiruzen pointed out, to which Naruto just snorted. Like I give a damn what they think. Just pass me the headbands and I'll be on my way. Naruto walked over to the Hokage's desk and accepted the 2 headbands that the Sandame took out of a drawer. However, the door busted open before he could leave and a young boy wearing a helmet ran into the room wielding a shuriken. Fight me, old geezer. The boy shouted but ended up tripping over his own scarf and falling on the floor, causing Naruto to burst into laughter and the Sandame to tilt his hat to cover his embarrassment. Itai. Who set a trap? The boy asked as he rubbed his helmeted head. At that moment a Junin wearing shades ran into the room. Are you all right? And there isn't a trap anywhere. The Junin shouted out before he noticed Naruto. The Kyuubi brat. How I despise him. I know. You are the one who set the trap. The boy exclaimed as he pointed at a laughing Naruto. You tripped over your own scarf, you moron. Naruto hoisted him up by his shirt. Hey, I demand that you let the honorable grandson of Hokage-sama go. The Junin shouted. So this is the Konohamaru you told me about, huh, old man? Naruto glanced between the Hokage and Konohamaru. Now that you know, let me go. Konohamaru struggled to break free but inwardly thought. Now that he knows who I am, he won't dare to hurt me. He's just like Ebisu and everyone else. You think I care? Naruto slapped Konohamaru upside the head, causing the young boy to clutch the spot in pain. He could be your freaking grandmother and it wouldn't make a damn difference to me. How dare you strike the honorable grandson? Ebisu shouted in outrage while the Sandaime sighed. Whatever. See you around, old man. Naruto jumped out the window at the end of his sentence. Konohamaru stared at the window whilst thinking. He's different than the rest. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. Hey, I'll make you my boss. Konohamaru's voice knocked him out of his recollection. Wah. Naruto blinked as he tried to process what the hell the kid was talking about. And in exchange, you have to teach me how to defeat Gramps. Konohamaru shouted in excitement. Listen, kid, I have more important things to do than train you. Naruto growled impatiently. Shit, the signature has started to move closer towards the village. Come on, please. Konohamaru begged on both knees. Fine. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Clone, I want you to teach him. Naruto pointed at Konohamaru, who had stars for eyes at seeing the jutsu, before he took off across the rooftops. Damn, where did that stupid signature go now? Naruto paused on a tree branch just outside of Konoha. Shit. Naruto leapt away from the tree as a huge white monster with a strange mask and a hole in its chest smashed into it. He backflipped in midair and landed on another tree branch. So this is a hollow. Damn, you're ugly. The hollow just got back up and roared at him. Black chakra circled around Naruto and enveloped him before dying down to reveal that he was wearing the outfit he had on the night of the Mizuki incident. Now let's see how much of a bad boy you really are. Naruto grinned as he drew his katana and twirled it around once before settling into a sword stance. The hollow roared and charged him on all fours. Naruto noted that it was surprisingly fast for a creature of its size. Naruto blocked a punch with his arms, but the force of the blow sent him crashing into a tree trunk. He coughed as he climbed out of the debris. Note to self, don't try that again. Naruto groaned. The hollow roared and tried long swiping attacks with its claws. Naruto dodged or parried the attacks with his katana. Naruto growled and switched into a different stance as the hollow charged him. Kuroryu no Sume. Black Dragon's Claw. Naruto flashed past the hollow and sheathed his blade as the hollow dropped dead in two separate pieces. I have to thank the Shinigami for all those techniques just from absorbing a soul shard. Naruto grinned, but that slipped away as he suddenly realized that he was surrounded on all sides by 5 different hollows. He discreetly made a cross-shaped hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. And 5 clones emerged from the smoke and engaged each hollow as Naruto leapt back several paces and held up both his hands and started channeling his Ryutsu as he chanted. Sanzai Suru, Kimono no Hon. Sento, Kosho, Katetsu no Sharon. Yugokiba Kase, Tomariba Sora. Yariatsu Naro ga Kojo ni Machiru. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp Tower, Red Crystal, Steel Ring. Move and become the wind, stop and become the calm. The sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Naruto chanted as yellow Ryutsu formed an orb in his hands. Hado number 63. Reikoho. Thunder Roar Cannon. Naruto shouted as a massive blast of lightning shot out of his palms and into the group of hollows that were busy fighting his clones. The resulting explosion tore up the ground as the clones dispersed and Naruto watched as the Kido spell disintegrate the hollows. I have to practice using Ryutsu some more, that spell really took some effort. Naruto said as he panted slightly from using such a high-level Kido. He hopped down from the tree branch and started walking back to Konoha. I better get some rest since I have to fight Anko-chan tomorrow morning. Next day at Training Grounds 44 aka Forest of Death. Naruto yawned and stretched as he and Akane waited for their team's sensei to arrive. They didn't have to wait long as the tan blur known as Anko dropped down in front of them. I'm so glad my genin knows what it means to be on time, unlike a certain tardy Junin I happen to know. Anko mumbled the last part, causing Kakashi to sneeze somewhere in Konoha. So what sort of test are we doing today? Naruto asked. It's supposed to be sort of test that is testing your ability to work as a team, but looking at you two, I say you have no problems doing that. Anko replied with a wink, causing the pair to smirk. So I'm just going to test your skills in a 2-on-1 spar that ends when I call it. So whenever you're ready. Naruto vanished from the spot and appeared next to Anko, who blinked in surprise but quickly blocked the right hook that was aimed at her face. Akane dashed in and attempted a leg sweep, but Anko jumped over it and threw kick at Naruto, who blocked it with his free hand. Akane sent a snap kick at Anko's chin, but the snake mistress just tilted her head back slightly and grabbed her leg and threw her at Naruto. Naruto grunted and skidded back slightly as he caught Akane in his arms and placed her back on her feet. He looked back at Anko, who was smirking at them. You got to do better than that if you want to touch this lady. Anko taunted. Naruto just grinned as he shot at Anko and threw a barrage of kicks and punches at her, which she either evaded or blocked. Akane joined the fray and timed her punches and kicks with Naruto's own, so they alternated attacks. Finally, a fist from Naruto smashed into Anko's stomach, causing her to gasp and stumble back slightly. Much better. Now let's see some techniques. Anko smirked as she ran through several hand seals and slammed her palms into the ground, causing a seal matrix to appear. Kuchio's no jutsu. Summoning technique. A significantly large cloud of smoke filled the clearing. Naruto and Akane tensed as the smoke cleared to reveal a giant black and purple snake. The snake hissed and shot forward like a bolt of lightning. Naruto and Akane barely jumped out of the way in time. Damn, this snake is fast. Naruto commented as he flipped over another lightning-fast strike. Akane jumped into the air over the snake and finished her hand seals. Kaden. Genkyu. Fire release. Roaring flame sphere. Akane inhaled and shot out a meteor-sized fireball that slammed into the snake. The snake was pushed further into the ground before the sphere exploded in a huge explosion. Naruto whistled at the crater that had formed thanks to Akane's technique, while Anko just gaped. It was a freaking A-rank technique. Anko exclaimed before blocking a mid-air spinning kick from Naruto, who shifted his weight and twisted his body into a dropping axe kick. Anko blocked it with her other hand, but Naruto grinned as he whispered. Boom. Anko's eyes widened as she pushed away from the rapidly expanding clone, but the explosion still managed to hit her, sending her skidding and rolling across the forest floor. Anko coughed to get the smoke from her lungs and looked up to see Naruto and Akane running through two separate sets of hand seals. She didn't know what they were doing, but it couldn't hurt to be safe, so she started hand seals for a defensive ninjutsu. Kaden. Zukoku. Fire release. Intelligent hard work. Akane spat out a small compressed fireball. Futon. Atsugai. Wind release. Pressure damage. Naruto spat out a compressed sphere of wind chakra. Anko cursed as she tried to complete the hand seals as fast as possible as she saw the wind and fire techniques combine into a raging firestorm that raced towards her. Doten. Doryuheiki. Earth release. Earth-style wall. Anko slammed both palms onto the ground. A large stone wall erupted from the ground just in time to block the combination technique. Naruto and Akane watched from a tree branch as their combined technique smashed into the stone wall. The firestorm split in half and traveled to either side of the wall. You think we overdid it with that? Naruto asked Akane, who just shrugged in reply. Tsunagishu. Hidden shadow snake hands. A voice called out from behind them, and the duo found their hands restrained to their bodies by snakes coiling around them. They turned around to see a grinning Anko leaning against a tree trunk with her hands extended towards them. Looks like I've caught you. Bakudo number 4. Hainoa. Crawling rope. Naruto's voice called out from behind her, and Anko found herself entangled by an energy rope before Naruto walked up behind her. No, it looks like I've caught you. Naruto whispered directly into her ear. Anko shivered slightly as his hot breath tickled her ear and looked back at the two she captured, only for them to erupt in smoke. Kage Bunshin's Alright, you two passed the test, so can you release the technique now? Anko asked him. What if I don't want to? Naruto replied teasingly as he hugged her from behind, causing her to blush slightly as she could feel his rock-hard muscles. Don't you already have a girlfriend? Anko gasped as Naruto kissed her neck. Akane-chan is my mate and she said that I am expected to have a harem. Naruto trailed off suggestively as Anko looked for Akane and found her eating a bucket of popcorn as she sat on a tree branch. Oh, did she now? And you thought I would be interested? Why? Anko asked as she tried her best not to moan as Naruto caressed her body gently. Let's see, shall we? We both are hated for something we can't control. The villagers despise us and call us names. We both had our lives screwed over by a seal, and most importantly, we both know what it feels like to be abandoned and lonely. Need I say more? Naruto's words caused Anko to tear up as she remembered how Orochimaru had abandoned her and how the villagers called her the snake bitch, and the loneliness she felt as nobody trusted her. No matter how hard we try, there will always be doubt in their hearts, but I know how it feels like. The stares, the whispers behind your back, the disgust in their eyes. Naruto released the binding spell, but his words had taken effect already as Anko clenched her fists as tears rolled down her face. Why don't they accept me? I tried so hard to prove my loyalty. Anko whispered softly as Naruto gently stroked her hair in a calming motion. It's all right, Anko-chan. Who needs their approval? I accept you for who you are. I don't see you as Orochimaru's ex-student or the snake bitch, but as Mitarashi Anko, a beautiful and deadly kunoichi. Naruto said in a loving manner. Wow, Naru-kun could really get a side career in acting. Ooh, he's going in for the kill. Akane thought as she munched on her popcorn. And if that doesn't convince you, I can always remove this little seal from you. Naruto rubbed the spot where her curse seal was, causing Anko to gasp. Why, you can really do that? Anko asked with hope in her eyes. Of course I can. Naruto replied. Please, remove it. I'll do anything. I'll be your slave. You can me whenever you want, but please, just remove it. Anko pleaded. All I want is for you to accept my offer of being my next mate. Naruto tilted her head up and she looked into his slitted amethyst pupils. I accept, Naruto-kun. Anko whispered, causing Naruto to smile as he leaned down slightly and captured her lips in a kiss. Good, now this might sting a bit. Naruto told her as he channeled his Yuki into his fangs and bit down onto her curse seal and started draining the soul shard of Orochimaru out of it. Naruto pulled his fangs out and spat into the grass and watched as the curse seal slowly fade and finally disappeared. It's gone. Arigato, Naruto-kun. Anko embraced him as tears of joy ran down her face. I'm finally free of my burden. Thank you so much. Shish, it's all right, Anko-chan. You have to report to the Hokage soon about the test. Come on. Naruto smiled as Anko wiped away her tears with her sleeve. That's my girl. Hokage's office 5 minutes later. Sarutobi Hiruzen puffed on his pipe as he looked over the Junin that have once again gathered inside his office. They had just returned from testing their team and Kakashi was surprisingly on time for once. All right, I want your reports on your team. The Sandaime ordered. Team 1 failed. They were practically useless. Genma reported. Team 2 failed. They spent the entire time arguing instead of finding me. Aoba said. Team 3 failed. They have no concept of teamwork at all. Hayate coughed. The Hokage listened as the Junin senseis of teams 4 to 6 all reported failures, and finally everyone tensed as Kakashi stepped forward. Team 7 passed, albeit reluctantly. Kakashi sighed. Mind elaborating on that? Hiruzen asked. Well, where to begin? Sasuke is a revenge-driven, egoistic, arrogant genin who expects everyone to bow to the might of the Uchiha clan. Sakura is his useless lapdog that has no skills whatsoever and only fawns over the Uchiha 24/7. They only passed because Sai gave Sakura some of his lunch after she was tied to the training post. Kakashi explained. Very well, please proceed, Kurenai-san. Hiruzen told the Genjutsu mistress. Team 8 passed. They could use a little work though. Kurenai replied. Team 10 passed. They may not get along outside of combat, but when in battle they work just as well as their fathers. Asuma told his father. Team 11 passed with flying colors. Anko smirked at the curious looks on her friends and the Hokage's faces. What did your team do to warrant such praise? Hiruzen asked. He knew about it but he couldn't let them know that he knew about Naruto. First off, I rank their taijutsu at about high chunin to low junin rank and their teamwork is superb. Both showed they could perform B rank ninjutsu while Akane did an A- rank technique. They also combined a wind and fire technique that created a huge firestorm. Naruto was able to capture me with an unknown binding technique that ended the test. Anko recounted, causing several different reactions in the room. I would expect nothing less from the new Naruto and Kyuubi. Hiruzen smiled slightly behind his hands that he used to cover his mouth. I'm glad that Sensei's son is already so strong, but I thought the academy records listed him as dead last. How did he change so much over a few days? Oh well, that isn't for me to wonder. At least he got himself a hot girlfriend. Kakashi released a perverted giggle inside his head. Ha! The snake bitch must have felt sorry for the demon brats as she made up that story. We all know that the demon brat was dead last in the academy. A random Junin voiced his opinion, causing several killing intents to be aimed at him, and Anko held a kunai that was pointed at his groin. You can insult me, but the moment you insult my genin is when you have crossed the line, so I recommend you think before you open your mouth lest you lose something important next time. Anko hissed with narrowed eyes at the man, who nodded vigorously in fear of his privates. When did Ko-chan get so overprotective over some genin, the resident Jinchuriki no less? Kurenai mused as she saw her friend's strange behavior. He, I knew placing Naruto and her together would have positive results. The Hokage chuckled to himself. Thank you all for your reports. Please report first thing tomorrow morning with your genin squad to collect your first mission. Hiruzen dismissed the gathered Junin. With Naruto, Akane and Anko. So how did the meeting go, Anko-chan? Naruto asked the snake mistress in the tree beside them, causing her to pout and jump down in front of them. How did you know I was there? Anko asked. Enhanced senses. Naruto tapped his nose with a smirk. So how was it? It was alright. Some punk insulted you, so I threatened him with a kunai to his goods, but everything else was alright. Anko chuckled at the memory, causing Naruto and Akane to sweat drop. So who else passed their tests? Naruto asked. Kakashi's team passed barely. Nai-chan's team and Asuma's team. Anko listed off. I sort of hoped that the Uchiha would fail. Akane sighed. Guess you can't always get what you want. Cheer up, Akane-chan. Look at it this way. Now the Uchiha has a higher rate of dying on his missions. Naruto smirked as a grin crept onto Akane's face. Oh, speaking of missions, Old Man Hokage asked us to report in tomorrow morning for our first mission. Anko informed them. We're not going to do those lame-ass D-rank missions, are we? Naruto's eyebrow twitched at the thought of painting a fence or chasing after some stupid cat. Hey, who do you think I am? Mitarashi. Anko will never do D-ranks and neither will her awesome team. Anko pumped her fist into the air, causing Naruto to chuckle and Akane to giggle. Hey Anko-chan, how is the place you're staying at? Naruto asked seriously, causing Anko to flinch slightly, but that was all Naruto needed to see. Pack your stuff. You're coming to leave with Akane and me at the estate. Estate? Anko echoed. Oh right, I haven't told you yet. Naruto sighed as he began his long-ass narration of the events that had transpired the night of the Mizuki betrayal all the way till the moment they met her, including how he was no longer human and half demon, half Shinigami. Now that you know all that, does it change your opinion about me? Is what you said in the afternoon true? Anko asked softly. Yes, every word. Naruto replied before Anko pulled him into a kiss. Then nothing has changed between us. My loyalty is now to you, not to this village. Anko spat out the word like it was poison. Thanks, Anko-chan. Naruto smiled genuinely at the snake mistress. He may be a demon, but even a demon needs love. Now go pack your bags and meet me outside the Namikaze estate in half an hour's time. Half an hour later. Anko gaped at the interior of the Namikaze house. It looked more like a daimyo's royal palace than a house. Naruto had informed her that Akane was asleep already as he helped her place her bags in the master bedroom as well. Aren't you and Akane already using the room? Anko pointed out. The room is big enough for us to share and so is the bed, so why should I let you sleep alone? Naruto answered honestly, which caused Anko's already blossoming love for him to increase further. And don't worry about anyone breaking in or anything of that sort, since only people I have keyed into the seal are allowed to enter the premises. Wait, if there was a blood seal and you were no longer human, then how did you activate the seal as well as the one on the Yandaime's picture? Anko asked as she realized it. Very astute of you, Anko-chan. I simply used my Yuki to overload the seal matrix and caused it to reset to my new DNA signature. Something as simple as that is child's play to me. Naruto smirked as Anko shrugged. Naruto let Anko use the shower as he took off his clothes, leaving only his boxers, and plopped down next to Akane. Anko came out in a black nightgown and crawled into bed beside Naruto and snuggled into his right arm as Akane took his left, before they drifted off to sleep. Naruto woke up to the pleasant feeling of two sets of being pressed into both of his arms. He looked to either side and found Anko and Akane still snuggling into his arms. He didn't want to wake them up yet, so he performed a sealess kawarimi substitution with a pillow that had been carelessly discarded on the floor. Naruto yawned as he stretched his arms and back before walking into the bathroom. He paused mid-stride and looked at his own reflection in the mirror. Damn, I sure look different since the fusing, Naruto mused as his slitted amethyst pupils stared back at him instead of his original sky blue pupils. He threw off his shirt and smiled since his body, which had been skinny and malnourished, had buffed up thanks to absorbing Akane's Yuki. Naruto splashed some water onto his face and stepped into the shower. He sighed contentedly as the hot water splashed against his skin and trailed down his body. I never would have known the comfort of a hot shower if I had stayed in that rundown apartment. Stupid landlord sabotaging the water heater. At least things have been looking up since the fusion. Naruto thought before a small smile crept onto his face as his thoughts drifted to the two women on his bed. To have two beautiful women beside me, I must be the luckiest GU demon alive, or half alive at any rate. Naruto stepped out of the shower and toweled his black-streaked blonde hair dry before changing. He walked back into the bedroom to see Anko and Akane smothering the pillow between their cleavages. That has to be the luckiest pillow in the world, Naruto thought with a snicker before creating a Kage Bunshin and kissed both of his mates on the lips until they woke up. Rise and shine, ladies. We have to report into the old man's office in half an hour. With some muted grumbling and cursing, both of them crawled out of bed reluctantly and took turns using the shower while Naruto went down to the kitchen. Hey, what's that smell? Anko asked the demoness walking down the stairs beside her. Oh, that's just Naru-kun fixing breakfast. He picked up cooking surprisingly well. Akane replied as they both entered the kitchen to see Naruto setting 3 plates on the table and a stack of pancakes in the middle. Morning, ladies. Eat up quickly since we have an appointment, Naruto said as the trio sat down and ate their breakfast with a few snatches of conversation here and there. Naruto created several clones to deal with the dishes as Naruto grabbed both their shoulders and shadow walked them into the Hokage's office. Team 11, you're the first to arrive, so you have first pick of the mission. You can walk the Inuzuka's dogs, mow a law, paint a fence, catch Tora. The Sandame was interrupted before he could go further. Old man, I swear if you give us any of those lame-ass chores you call D ranks that I will kill the person who requested them and use their corpse for my kenjutsu practice. Naruto chucked darkly, which both Akane and Anko thought was a slight turn-on for them. How about AC rank instead? Hiruzen asked since he didn't want to be held accountable for the deaths of civilians and the fact that he knew this team could handle it. Now you're talking. Naruto accepted the mission scroll and left with his 2 mates via shadow portal, leaving an indifferent Sandame and a confused Iruka. Are you sure it was wise to give a rookie team AC rank, Hokage-sama? Iruka asked. Iruka, Anko is a Junin, Akane was the Kyuubi and Naruto is half demon and half Shinigami. Are you seriously telling me they can't handle AC rank? Hiruzen replied, causing Iruka to chuckle nervously and scratch the back of his head in embarrassment. With Naruto and company. So what does the mission scroll say, Naru-kun? Akane asked as they gathered around the dining table since Naruto had shadow walked them back to the estate. It says to eliminate a bandit camp that had been spotted along a popular merchant's trading route and have been harassing the traders. Naruto read aloud from the scroll. Bandit elimination. The most common C-rank mission, also known as misplaced aggression mission. Anko snickered at the curious looks on her team's faces. Misplaced aggression mission. Naruto lifted an eyebrow. Yup, if a Junin had a bad day or is in a foul mood, they would take this mission to release their anger upon the unsuspecting bandits. Anko explained with a grin. Oh, sounds fun. Akane smirked as they went their separate ways to prepare the items needed for the mission. Konoha's gate. Naruto stopped at the gate and looked around before realizing that he was the first one to arrive. He shrugged and just settled for waiting. Not much later he spotted Akane and Anko walking towards the gate. He noticed that Akane had a katana sheathed at her waist as well. I didn't know you had a zanpakuto as well. Naruto commented as they came within hearing range. I do, but never really had a chance to use it very often, due to being sealed up and all. Akane glanced down at her katana. I thought only the Shinigami and people with Shinigami's power could have a zanpakuto. Anko asked in confusion. Not entirely true. A zanpakuto is a manifestation of your spiritual power, so technically anyone who trains their ryutsu enough will be able to acquire one. Naruto explained. So if I train this ryutsu thing, I can get a cool sword too? Anko asked excitedly. I guess so. Ryutsu is basically the spiritual half of chakra and is denser and more potent than it. This makes it harder to manipulate and control, but the results are much more efficient in comparison. Naruto scratched his chin in thought. I'll see if there is any way you can tap into your ryutsu safely. If that works out, then we'll work from there. Fair enough. Now let's go kill us some bandits. Anko vanished in a blur of speed, quickly followed by Naruto and Akane in the direction of the bandit camp. An hour later, Naruto was crouched on a tree branch several meters of the ground as he observed the bandits milling about in the clearing they had set up camp in. He looked around and saw Anko and Akane crouched on their own branches. Anko looked over to him and used ninja sign language to tell him to proceed with the plan. As if charging in and killing everyone could be called a plan. Naruto chuckled to himself as he leapt down into the middle of the camp with Anko and Akane beside him. What the? One bandit exclaimed in surprise at the three figures that suddenly landed in the middle of their camp. Who the are they? Another bandit asked. Who are we, you say? Well, that's simple, we are your death. Naruto grinned as the three of them split up to deal with the bandits. He channeled Yuki into his hands, causing his claws to lengthen. You filth are not even worthy to die by my blade, so you will have to settle for my hands instead. Naruto dashed straight at a bandit and sent a Yuki-enhanced punch straight at his head, completely punching it off his neck, causing a fountain of blood to spray out. Naruto chuckled darkly as he licked the blood of his hand, causing the bandits that had surrounded him to shiver involuntarily at the act. Disgusting blood. Now who's next? Naruto looked up and the bandits saw his slitted amethyst pupils glowing with demonic power. Naruto blocked a sword strike with his bare hand and yanked on the blade so forcefully that the bandits' arms tore off at the elbows. Naruto grinned as he picked up one of the man's severed hands and slapped him with it continuously. Why are you hitting yourself? The rest of the bandits charged him together, hoping to overwhelm the psychopath in their midst, but alas, that was not to be. Naruto just grabbed the bandit's head and ripped it clean off before throwing it right at another bandit and impacted him right in the jewels. Naruto stumbled forward slightly as he noticed several blades sticking out of his body. Oh, that tickles. The bandits watched in fear as Naruto just pulled out the swords and the wounds close up right before their eyes. Naruto flicked the sword in the direction of a stunned bandit, The sword stabbed him right through the head and the momentum ripped it off and pinned it to the tree trunk behind him. The remaining bandits screamed in fear as they dropped their weapons and tried to escape. Oh, none of that escaping shit for you. Chiniku no Kamen, Bansho, Habataki, Hito no na o Kansu Mano yo. Soka no Kabe ni Soren o Kizamu, Taika no Fuchi o Enten ni Teimatsu. Ye Lord, mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. On the wall of blue flame, inscribe a twin lotus. In the abyss of conflagration, wait at the far heavens. Naruto chanted as blue spiritual energy gathered around both his palms and he pointed each palm at the two separate groups of fleeing bandits with a grin. Hado number 73. Soren Sokatsui. Twin lotus blue fire. Crash down. Naruto roared as two beams of blue flames impacted into each bandit group. He watched with a grin as they slowly were incinerated by the blue flames. Naruto dusted off his hands and turned around to see a blood-soaked Anko and Akane approaching him. Seems like you two had fun as well. Damn straight. I haven't let loose like this for Kami knows how long. Akane shouted happily. No better way to start the day than soaking in the blood of your enemies. Anko sighed contently. Now let's go report back and get our mission payment. Hokage's office. The trio of blood-soaked shinobi emerged out of a portal in the middle of the Hokage's office a few minutes after eliminating the bandits. The Sandaime looked up and blinked. Something tells me that asking you what happened is going to give me a headache, so just take the payment and go clean up. Hiruzen sighed as he tried his best to ignore the blood that started pooling on the wooden floor. Right, I was wondering if we could have another mission. Naruto scratched his head sheepishly. Another mission? You just completed your first C rank. Hiruzen almost choked on his pipe at the request. It was kind of easy and we don't have anything to do for the remainder of the day. Naruto trailed off in thought. I could just Akane. I like the sound of that. Akane purred as she rubbed her cleavage against Naruto's arm. I know. We can include Anko-chan and make it a threesome. That's an idea. Naruto mused as Anko blushed at the images in her mind while the Sandaime had been blown back by a nosebleed at the conversation topic. Here, take this mission. Hiruzen threw a mission scroll at them, which they took with a grin and left, causing the old man to sigh in relief. If they stayed in here any longer I might have died of blood loss. Speaking of blood. Someone get in here and clean that puddle of blood on the floor. Namikaze Estate. The three had met up again after taking a quick shower and changing out of their blood-soaked clothes. They were clustered around the dining table again. So what's the mission now, Naruto-kun? Anko asked as she tied her hair back into its pineapple-styled ponytail. Another C rank. This time concerning mysterious deaths near the forest surrounding a village to the west of Konoha. The bodies that had been found looked like they had been eaten. Naruto stopped reading as he spun on his heel and started walking towards the door. I will handle this mission myself. What? We are a team and... Anko's protest was cut short. I know. However, this is something I can fight thanks to having Shinigami powers. The culprit is a creature known as a hollow. I will go into a more in-depth explanation when I return. For now you just have to know that only I am able to see these creatures. Naruto said before sinking into a shadow portal. An hour later, Naruto had just finished his discussion with the village chief, who had explained to him about their situation regarding the deaths, and Naruto had assured him that he would take care of it. Naruto walked through the forest with his Zanpakuto at his waist. He was using his enhanced senses to keep a lookout. Eating human souls directly. This hollow must either be really brave or extremely foolish. Naruto thought before a deep rumbling laughter filled the forest. Ha ha ha, what's this now? A human with Shinigami powers. Now that is a strange sight indeed. The voice boomed. Only half right. I am a demon with Shinigami powers. Naruto growled as his voice took a demonic edge again. Oh ho, a demon you say? Well, little demon, let me introduce myself. My name is Taiguro. A large humanoid-shaped figure dropped down from a tree branch and landed gracefully despite being 1 story tall. Naruto noticed that its mask had tiger-like markings on it and the jaw section could unlatch and was filled with sharp teeth. So you're the one responsible for the deaths of the people in the village? Naruto asked. I might be. What's it to you? Tiger-O replied. Well, I've been paid to eliminate whatever is doing that, so. Naruto allowed the hollow to figure the rest out himself. Ah, I see. Well, let's see what a demonic Shinigami tastes like. Tiger-O roared as he leapt at Naruto and attempted to swipe him with his sharp claws. Naruto sprang back from the tiger-like hollow, but Tiger-O kept up the relentless-o as he leapt after Naruto whilst slashing away with his claws. Naruto flipped over a claw swipe and landed on Tiger-O's outstretched right arm before aiming a palm at his mask. Hado number 31. Shakuho. Red Flame Cannon. Naruto shot a ball of crimson spiritual energy straight at Tiger-O's mask, resulting in a fiery explosion that knocked the large hollow back slightly with his face smoking. I'm still not that well versed in Kido. Without the incantation my spells aren't at max power, but this guy is too fast. Is that the best you got, boy? Tiger-O roared as he rushed at Naruto out of the smoke, his mask slightly singed but otherwise fine. Naruto drew his Zanpakuto and deflected the first few attacks launched at him before he braced himself and snapped a kick that connected with Tiger-O's chest and knocked him away slightly. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto created 6 shadow clones and had them attack Tiger-O, who was surprised to see multiple copies of his enemy. Naruto grinned at the distraction as he began drawing on his spiritual energy into his palm. Sanzai Suru, Kimono no Hon. Sento, Kosho, Katetsu no Sharon. Yugokiba Kase, Tomariba Sora. Yariatsu Naro ga Kojo ni Michiru. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp Tower, Red Crystal, Steel Ring. Move and become the wind, stop and become the calm. The sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Naruto chanted as yellow spiritual energy enveloped his entire right fist in an orb of electricity. Hado number 63. Reikoho. Thunder Roar Cannon. Naruto shouted as a concentrated blast of energy shot towards Tiger-O and impacted against his chest before exploding in a thunderous roar. You're better than I expected, boy. Tiger-O coughed as he pulled himself out of the small crater only to see Naruto vanish in a blur of speed from the tree branch and reappear beside him. How? Shunpo. Flash Step. Naruto whispered with a chuckle as he extended his index and middle fingers from a closed fist, forming a gun-like shape and pointing it at the back of Tiger-O's head. Bye-bye. Hado number 4. Byakurai. White Lightning. A concentrated beam of bluish-white lightning shot from his fingertips and through Tiger-O's head and mask. Naruto watched as the hollow collapse on the floor and disintegrate. Well, that was interesting. Hokage's office. Naruto, I would appreciate it if you would actually enter my office using the door sometimes. Here is inside as he looked up from his paperwork to see Naruto standing there. I'll use it when I feel like it. On a more serious note, Naruto placed the mission scroll on the Hokage's desk. I want you to promise me that if any more missions like this one come up that you will give them to me. For what reason do you want to do these kinds of missions? Hiruzen asked, bewildered as he looked at the mission scroll again. The creatures that are behind these disappearances are known as hollows. They can only be seen by people with Shinigami-like powers, so I am the only one who can accomplish these missions. Naruto replied seriously. Fine, if any of such missions do appear again, I will hand them to you directly. On another topic, what techniques did you use against Anko and in your missions? Hiruzen puffed on his pipe. Those can only be performed by Shinigami, so there is no point in explaining about them. See ya. Naruto waved as he leapt out the window and vanished in a blur of speed. Namikaze Estate. I'm back. Naruto called out as he walked through the front door and was immediately tackled to the floor by a tan blur, which revealed itself to be Anko straddling his stomach. Start explaining, mister. Anko demanded. I will once you get off my stomach. Naruto deadpanned as Anko pouted but jumped off and helped Naruto to get up. Please get Akane-chan and meet me in the living room. Naruto watched as Anko nodded and went off to find Akane. he sighed as he mentally prepared himself for a long explanation about hollows. Okay, now that we're all here, hollows are a race of creatures which are born from human souls who, for various reasons, do not cross over to the afterlife after their death and stay in the human world for too long. They are corrupt spirits with supernatural powers that devour the souls of both living and deceased humans. Naruto explained slowly to make sure the two women understood. Hollows are former pluses, deceased human souls that lose their hearts to despair or remain in the real world for too long. The majority of ghosts peacefully move on to the afterlife after their deaths. Some, however, stay in the living world to fulfill certain goals, such as looking after a loved one, protecting a particular location, or pursuing a grudge from beyond the grave. However, with only limited abilities to interact with the living, and by definition tied to their goals, many ghosts find they are unable to cope when their loved ones move on or old enemies forget them. At this point, some will become dangerously obsessed with fulfilling those goals, even if the means to fulfill them renders the soul empty. For example, killing anyone who comes near a loved one, in order to keep them from hurting that person. In doing so, the ghost warps into a hollow and, ironically, often makes the focus of their obsession into their first victim. Naruto repeated word for word from the memories he gained from the Shinigami's soul shard. That's a lot to take in, so technically anyone can become a hollow? Anko asked, to which Naruto nodded solemnly. Damn, that sucks. They are dangerous and can only be seen by people with high spiritual powers, such as myself. That's why I don't want you two to accompany me on missions regarding hollows. Naruto told them. I guess you're right, it's just that I'm the Kyuubi no Yoko yet. Akane clenched her fists but Naruto just drew her into a hug. Well, look at it this way. We all have abilities that make us special, so mine just happens to involve hollows. Naruto comforted her, but a pecking at the window drew his attention. He opened the window and a messenger bird landed on his hand. Naruto opened the small scroll that the bird had been carrying and read the note. Naruto, please report to my office immediately. We have a situation concerning those hollows you told me about. Sandaime Hokage. Shit. Sorry girls, but the old man just sent me a message concerning hollows. Naruto said as he sunk into a shadow portal. Be careful, Naruto, Akane whispered softly, but Anko managed to catch. Hey, only wanting him for his power. Doesn't look like it. Anko smirked inwardly at the thought. Hokage's office. Again. Yo, old man, what's this about hollows? Naruto asked as he rose out of a shadow. Ah, Naruto, you're here. A team of Chunins I sent out on a mission just returned with only 2 of the original 4 members alive. They claim to have been attacked by an invisible creature on their way back from the mission. I want you to investigate this. Hiruzen stated, to which Naruto nodded. Where did this happen? Naruto asked. The team's report stated that the incident occurred near the deserted forest. They had been taking a break when one of their members was suddenly dragged away by an invisible foe. Hiruzen read from a piece of paper. I see. Alright, I'll check it out. Naruto sunk back into a shadow portal that formed below his feet. Deserted forest. Naruto emerged from a shadow of a tree carefully and surveyed his surroundings. He noted the furrow marks and damaged trees that indicated signs of a struggle. Naruto crouched down next to a deep furrow and noticed that it was deeper towards the south, signifying that the target had been dragged north. Must be a feral hollow and pretty desperate to attack living humans that were grouped together. Naruto deduced as he followed the trail. He briefly sensed a flare of hollow energy signature, but it vanished as soon as it appeared. He frowned at the weird phenomenon. Naruto suddenly rolled to the right as a tentacle smashed into the ground where he had been previously. He came up in a crouch and looked up. A hollow with a squid-like mask was crouched on a tree branch and staring down at him with its yellow slit-like eyes. It had a humanoid upper torso but 4 tentacles for legs and 2 more for arms. Man, you're one ugly sucker. Naruto smirked, but his mind was working out why he hadn't sensed the hollow earlier. I should be able to sense its presence, but all I'm reading is a void. That's it. This hollow's ability is to mask its spiritual signature, so that's why I sensed a flare before it disappeared. The squid-like hollow roared and retracted its tentacle before lashing out with it in a vertical swipe that Naruto easily sidestepped before jumping over a horizontal tentacle swipe. Naruto flash-stepped beside the hollow but quickly backpedaled when the hollow blew out a dark purple mist from its mosque's mouth slit. Talk about breath problems. Naruto muttered as he ran through a few hand seals and took a deep breath. Futon. Daitapa. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Naruto exhaled a huge blast of wind that efficiently dispersed the poison mist that had been creeping up on him and further slammed the hollow into the tree trunk behind it. The wood shattered under the impact as the hollow continued its trajectory and smashed into the sandy ground. Naruto didn't waste the chance as he ran through more hand seals. Futon. Atsugai. Wind release. Pressure damage. Naruto shot out a condensed sphere of wind chakra that impacted onto the ground and erupted into a fierce dome of hurricane-speed winds. Naruto stared into the smoke before flash-stepping to the side as a tentacle shot straight through the spot he had previously occupied. Naruto frowned as he saw that the hollow only had minor scrapes and bruises. An attack of that caliber should have at least wounded him unless. It seems that hollows can only be hurt by Zanpakutos and Kido only. Naruto mused as he created 2 Kage Bushins and sent them to flank the hollow. The hollow swiped at a clone with its tentacle and connected, but the clone just dispersed in a poof of smoke. While the remaining clone distracted the squid-like hollow, Naruto held up his right palm facing the hollow. Kunrensha yo. Chiniku no Kamen. Bansho. Habataki. Hito no na o kansu mano yo. Shonetsu de Soren. Yumahidate Sakamaki Minami Ita Ho-O Susumyo. Ye Lord. Mask of blood and flesh. All creation. Flutter of wings. Ye who bears the name of man. Inferno and pandemonium. The sea barrier surges. March on to the south. Naruto chanted as red spiritual energy gathered into an orb of crimson energy. Hado number 31. Shakuho. Red fire cannon. Naruto released the spell in a wide beam of crimson energy that smashed directly into the hollow. It screamed out in pain as its body started burning and eventually only a pile of ash remained. Damn, I hope there aren't any more hollow appearances today. Expending this much Ryutsu is tiring me out. Naruto panted slightly as he walked back to the village to report his success in eliminating the hollow. 15 minutes later. The Sandaime waved off Team 7 that had just succeeded in accomplishing their first D-rank mission, capturing Tora the cat. He chuckled inwardly as he remembered how torn up they looked as they entered the office. A cough interrupted his thoughts. I have dealt with the hollow at the deserted forest. Naruto crossed his arms as he stared at the Hokage. Very good, Naruto-kun. Take this as payment for a successful C-rank completion. Hiruzen tossed him a bag of coins, which he caught. If that's all, I'm heading back now. Naruto leapt out the office window, causing the Hokage to sigh. Someday, Naruto. I don't know when, but someday I will find a way to force you to use my office door. Hiruzen bowed. Namikaze Estate. Naruto walked through the front door and collapsed face first into the couch in the living room with a tired sigh, causing Akane, who had been training, to walk over. It's rare to see you this tired. Akane gestured to his prone form as Naruto rolled over so he was facing skywards. It's because expending Ryutsu is different than using chakra. I have an unlimited supply of Yuki, so I can't get exhausted, but Ryutsu is another thing completely. Plus I discovered that the Ing Hollows can only be hurt by a Zanpakuto or Kido spells, meaning ninjutsu is ineffective against them. Naruto groaned. Speaking of Ryutsu, Anko has been wondering when you were going to test out her Ryutsu training with her. Akane told him. I'll get on it when I don't feel like I have an Akamichi sitting on my back. Where is Anko-chan anyway? Naruto asked, causing Akane to shrug. Not sure, just told me that she has to go meet Kurenai-san at the Dango bar for some reason. Akane replied before helping Naruto upright. Come on, let's get you to bed. Naruto made his way to the bedroom with Akane's help and fell back onto the comfortable mattress with a content sigh. Akane giggled and tucked him in before leaving the room. Akane grabbed her zanpakuto and placed it on her lap before she started meditating. Akane's zanpakuto's inner world. Akane opened her eyes to find herself in a throne room with a flame motif. A woman dressed like a queen with flowing fire for hair sat on the throne. Hello Akane. Long time no see. Do you still remember my name? Her zanpakuto spirit asked. Of course, Akane smirked. Good. I would have been most upset had you forgotten it. The spirit replied. For what reason have you come in here? I want to be able to help Naru-kun fight against these hollows. Akane said with determination. So basically, you don't want to feel useless. The spirit replied. Yes. Akane whispered softly, but her zanpakuto heard it nonetheless. I don't see how I can help you there except lend you my aid when possible. The spirit crossed her arms. That is all I ask. Akane replied before fading away. With Anko. So Nai-chan, how's your team been doing so far? Anko asked the genjutsu mistress as she bit into another piece of dango. Pretty decent so far. Kiba is too reckless and often charges into a situation before thinking. Shino has to open up more to us while Hinata, Kurenai sighed. Hinata what? Anko lifted an eyebrow curiously. Well, she is still as shy as always and stutters a lot but has been showing strange behavior. Especially when Kiba mentions that new girl on your team. Kurenai replied worriedly. Uzumaki Akane. Anko offered, to which Kurenai nodded. Hinata seems to often mumble to herself when Akane is mentioned. I once heard the word, bitch, and also, stealing what's mine, in her random mumblings. Kurenai looked into her empty cup. Duh, she's obviously jealous that Akane got to Naruto first. Anko rolled her eyes. I know, she has had a crush on him since they were kids. I can't believe he never noticed it. Kurenai exclaimed. He wasn't exactly very bright before the Mizuki incident took place. Anko snickered. I guess, since you're his sensei, could you ask him to give Hinata a chance? Kurenai asked hopefully. Not a chance in hell. Anko replied furiously. You heard his explanation in the classroom. She didn't bother to help him out when he needed it, so too bad for her. Kurenai stared after her friend in mild shock as she stormed out of the bar, all the while wondering why her friend had reacted in such a manner. How dare she tell me to ask Naruto-kun to give that creepy pale-eyed stock a chance? Anko ranted inside her head as she walked down the street. Yo Anko. A lazy voice drawled, causing her to look around until her eyes rested upon Kakashi, who was reading his stupid book as usual. What do you want, Kakashi? Anko asked irritably. Wow, didn't someone wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning? Kakashi replied with his signature eye smile. Stop wasting my time and spit it out. Anko scowled. Geez, fine. I want you to hand this scroll to Naruto. Just tell him it's from me. Kakashi handed her an ordinary sealing scroll. What's inside it? Anko eyed the scroll suspiciously. Nothing bad, just a jutsu that I believe he should learn. Ya nay. Kakashi waved as he walked away. Anko blinked and looked at the scroll for a total of 3 seconds before shrugging and resuming her walk back to the Namikaze estate. Making sure that nobody was nearby first, Anko entered the estate and through the front door to find Akane going through some sword katas by herself. Hey Akane, have you seen Naruto-kun? Anko asked the redhead, who paused for a while and wiped the sweat from her brow. He just returned around 15 minutes ago, but he was dead tired, so I told him to get some sleep. He's currently sleeping in our bedroom. Akane replied. Oh, I see, Anko said. So what were you looking for him for? If it's for your Ryutsu training, he already told me he would get right on it the moment he isn't so tired. Akane informed Anko of what Naruto had told her. No, that's not it. Kakashi gave me this scroll to hand to him. He said it was a jutsu scroll, contained a jutsu that Naruto-kun would be interested in learning. Anko took the scroll out of her coat pocket and handed it over. Akane inspected the scroll thoroughly before shrugging. Seems like a normal sealing scroll to me. Besides, I don't believe Kakashi has a grudge against Naru-kun. Akane returned the scroll to her. So what do I do with it? Anko asked. You can either hold on to it until Naru-kun awakes or just leave it at the bedside table. Akane suggested. I think I'll just leave it on the table. Anko decided and went up to the bedroom as Akane returned to her kenjutsu practice. Unknown location. Pain. Has everyone been briefed? A man wearing an orange mask with a spiral design and one eye hole asked a man with orange spiky hair, multiple piercings on his face and ears and purplish-gray ripple-designed eyes. Yes, Madara. Everyone has been told of our organization's purpose. Pain replied. Good. Then inform everyone that it's almost time for Akatsuki to move. Madara told him and Pain nodded before leaving the room. All according to plan. Madara reached a hand under his orange mask and rubbed a hand along a smooth, white porcelain surface that covered a quarter of his lower jaw. Soon I will be complete. A month had passed since Naruto and his team had begun taking missions from the village, all of course C rank and above since they refused to do anything below that. Naruto had also dealt with 7 more hollow sightings over the month. None of them were really serious since he didn't even have to use his Zanpakuto yet. Naruto had begun his research regarding training Ryutsu as a human as he had promised Anko. Needless to say he has yet to find a safe way. Now we see Team 11 standing at ease in the middle of the Hokage's office. They had just returned from a B-ranked mission where they had to eliminate a group of missing nins from various villages. Apparently they had joined forces and taken over a small village along the outskirts of Hai no Kuni. The people of the village have been suffering under their rule. Naruto had easily dispatched 2 missing nins from Iwagakure, Hidden Rock, while Akane and Anko dispatched a missing nin from Takigakure, Hidden Waterfall, and Sunagakure, Hidden Sand, respectively. So is that everything you have to report from the mission? The Sandaime Hokage asked as he took another puff off his pipe. Well, the beds in their hotel are really comfortable if you catch my drift. Naruto smirked along with Akane and Anko, causing Hiruzen to let out a perverted giggle as he discreetly wiped away the trail of blood from his nose. Very well, Naruto-kun. So here is the pay for a successful B-ranked mission completed. Hiruzen picked the worst time to say that as Team 7 just entered the office with a furious-looking Sasuke, hard-eyed Sakura, blank-faced Sai and apologetic-looking Kakashi. I demand to know why the Dobi has been allowed to attempt a B-ranked mission when I, an Uchiha, have to be stuck doing these stupid chores. Sasuke demanded in an arrogant tone. Sasuke-kun is right. Why does the Naruto Baka get to do a higher-ranked mission than us? Sakura screeched in support of her crush, but before the Sandaime could reply, Iruka, who was in the room at the time, responded first. You idiot. You're just a rookie genin that had recently graduated from the academy. Everyone starts off with the simple duties and works their way up. Iruka yelled at the 2 genin as Naruto's group watch on in amusement. Then why does the Dobi get to go on? Sasuke's reply was interrupted by a slap to the back of his head courtesy of Kakashi. Sasuke, might I remind you who exactly you are talking to? Kakashi reprimanded his student before rubbing his head sheepishly and looking back at the Hokage. Sorry about my cute little genin, Hokage-sama. That's quite alright, Kakashi, just make sure it doesn't happen again. As to answer your question, young Sasuke, Team 11 have proven themselves to be capable of higher-ranked missions, something your team has yet to show. Sasuke looked like he was about to retort when Naruto coughed to gain everyone's attention. I believe I know the perfect solution to our little problem. Oh, do you now, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked the demon Shinigami hybrid with amusement. How about both our teams go on a joint C-ranked mission? That way their team can gain the experience needed without much risk. Naruto suggested, causing the Hokage to look thoughtful and Iruka to smile slightly. It seems that your transformation really helped you to mature, Naruto, Iruka thought with happiness. That's an excellent suggestion, Naruto-kun. I approve of your proposal for a joint C-ranked mission between Team 7 and Team 11. Hiruzen finally announced, causing Kakashi and his team, except Sai, to look surprised. Naruto Baka actually helped us out. Don't listen to him. He is obviously using this to make us love him. That's right. No way am I falling for that trick. Sasuke-kun is the only one for me. Sakura looked back at Sasuke with an adoring face. The Dobi actually backed me up. Sasuke thought in surprise. Naruto actually helping Sasuke. He must have something planned. Meh, I can't be bothered. Kakashi shrugged lazily as the Hokage rummaged through the available C ranks before finding an acceptable one. Your C rank mission is a protection mission of a certain individual. Tazuna-san, you may come in now. The sandame called out as the door to the office swung open and the occupants were immediately hit by a strong stench of alcohol. What's this? A voice slurred. Standing in the doorway was a man with gray hair, mustache and beard, and despite his relatively old age, they could see that he had a muscular frame. There was a sake bottle in his hand, which explained where the alcohol smell was coming from. This is my protection, Tazuna said in a clearer tone this time. They look like a bunch of brats, especially the pink one with the large forehead and the brooder with the duck-ass hairstyle. What's the point of killing the person we are trying to protect, nay? Kakashi I smiled as he held back both genins as they tried to struggle free to attack the man. I am the super expert bridge builder, Tazuna. I expect you to provide me super protection until I get back to my country and complete my bridge. Tazuna stated. Despite their age, Tazuna-san, I'm sure my genin can handle this mission. And even if something they can't handle comes along, the rest of us are more than enough to handle it. Kakashi told the bridge builder as the two insulted genins calmed down and settled for glaring at the man. I guess you're right, so when are we able to set out for my country? Tazuna asked. Meet us back at the gate in an hour's time. Kakashi replied before leaving the room with his team and Tazuna, leaving Team 11 in the room along with the Sandame and Iruka. Aren't you and your team going to prepare for the mission, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen looked curiously at the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Nah, we're already prepared for it. Naruto produced a storage scroll from a storage seal on his arm. This scroll contains the necessary materials and rations needed for a typical week-long C-ranked mission, and also money to buy more if the mission duration extends beyond that time frame. Oh, very smart of you, Naruto-kun, but why are you still in here? Hiruzen asked. Just wanted to tell you that we may run into hollows on this mission, so I was wondering. Naruto trailed off. Fine, you have tactical command of the mission once a hollow shows up. Hiruzen sighed as the demonic Shinigami smirked as he left with his team via shadow portal. An hour later at Konoha's gate. Tazuna was standing at the gate along with Team 11 and were waiting for Team 7 to arrive. They didn't have to wait long as the genins of the team arrived a minute later. Yo! A lazy voice greeted as the group turned to the right simultaneously to see Kakashi leaning against a tree trunk, his face buried in his porn as usual. You aren't late. Sakura finished off in a softer voice in confusion before she pointed accusingly at him. Who are you, imposter, and what have you done with Kakashi-sensei? I'm not that bad, am I? Kakashi rubbed the back of his head sheepishly as everyone looked at him with a deadpanned expression, which he promptly ignored. Right, let's get moving. The first few minutes of the trip was serenely calm, with Naruto walking slightly ahead with Anko and Akane attached to his arms, Tazuna wondering how the brats scored two hot chicks, Kakashi giggling perversely either from the book or Naruto, Sasuke brooding and Sai being his emotionless self. That is until their resident pink-haired harpy, who had been hounding the self-proclaimed emo king, decided to ruin it with her voice. Tazuna-san. Sakura began hesitantly, prompting the bridge builder to turn and look at her over his shoulder. What is it, girl? Tazuna replied but was inwardly thinking. I think it's a girl, maybe. You're from Nami no Kuni, Land of Waves, right? Sakura asked. That's right, what about it? Tazuna answered, but the pink-haired girl had already turned to face her teacher. Kakashi-sensei. Did they have shinobi in that country too? Sakura asked. No, not in Nami no Kuni, but in most other countries. The culture and customs may be different, but hidden villages exist and so do ninjas. Kakashi looked at her lazily with his eye but was mentally sighing as his student was taking time away from reading his precious. To the many countries of the continent, the existence of a shinobi village means military power. This is how they hold and maintain advantages over each other, but it's not that the villages rule the countries. They merely stand equally with the country's government. A small island country like Nami no Kuni doesn't receive much interference from the larger countries and does not need a shinobi village. Within the many shinobi villages, Konoha, Hiri, Kumo, Suna and Iwa are the largest and most powerful, commonly referred to as the 5 great shinobi villages. And these are the only villages whose leader receives the name, Kage, Shadow. Kakashi had launched into an explanation that everyone was listening to. The 5 Kages are the Hokage, Fire Shadow, Mizukage, Water Shadow, Raikage, Lightning Shadow, Kazekage, Wind Shadow, and Tsuchikage, Stone Shadow. They reign over the thousands of ninja in the world. Wow! Hokage-sama is the best. Sakura squealed, but her inner self disagreed. That lame geezer is that incredible. Sounds fishy. I bet Sasuke-kun could kick his. However, you guys don't have to worry. There won't be any ninja combat on AC ranked mission. Kakashi ruffled Sakura's hair reassuringly. Then, we won't come into contact with any foreign ninjas. Sakura asked with a mental sigh of relief. Ha ha ha, of course not. Kakashi chuckled in reply but missed the slight flinch and nervous look Tazuna had, but Naruto spotted it and frowned slightly. The group walked on in relative silence with a few whispers of conversation until they approached a puddle in the middle of the road. Naruto, Kakashi, Anko and Akane instantly recognized it as a genjutsu. Anko and Akane smirked when they saw that a devious grin had stretched itself across the whiskered blonde's face, while Kakashi lifted an eyebrow but decided to just watch the show. Naruto slowly began to gather Ryutsu into his left palm and it formed a small blue orb that was barely visible. Hado number 33. Sokatsui. Blue fire. Crash down. Naruto whispered as a blue beam of fire blasted into the puddle, as he walked past, causing 2 figures to emerge from it screaming as they rolled on the ground trying to extinguish the flames. You bastard! One of them shouted after the pair had righted themselves after successfully extinguishing the blue flames that had burned their clothes. Ah, Gozu and Maizu, the Oni Kyodai, demon brothers, missing nins from Kurigakure no Sato. Anko said as she recognized the pair. Our reputation seems to precede us, Maizu. Gozu chuckled. That is has Gozu, but if you know of us then you must know of our combat speciality. Maizu smirked under his mask as he jingled the shuriken chain linked to each of their gauntlets. Before anyone could move, Naruto had disappeared from the spot and emerged behind the duo and sheathed his katana. Kuroryu no Sume. Black Dragon's Claw, Naruto whispered as a resounding click sounded through the area and the chain was sliced in two. Sasuke fumed that the Dobi had been able to spot the genjutsu when he didn't. Sakura fumed because Sasuke was upset. Kakashi had a smile under his mask at his sensei's son's abilities and Tazuna had a gobsmacked expression. Akane had quickly taken the opportunity to deliver lightning-fast blows to 2 missing nins' necks, which knocked both of them out. Well done, team. Anko declared proudly with a smirk as Naruto helped Akane tie the demon brothers to a tree. I wish I could say the same for you guys. Only Sai managed to figure out that the puddle was a genjutsu. You just had to use some common sense. There shouldn't be a puddle when the weather has been sunny. Kakashi berated his team, causing Sasuke to sneer and turn away, and Sakura went to try and comfort the emo king. Good job in taking their advantage out, Naruto, but I had hoped to figure out who their target was. Kakashi. Naruto shook his head sadly and pointed at a grinning Anko, who was licking a kunai as she approached the 2 still unconscious and tied up shinobi. Oh right, Kakashi deadpanned as he remembered that Anko was part of the torture and interrogation department. Anko grinned as she cut one of them free and dragged him off into the forest. Kakashi pitied the poor Chunin as he heard cries of pain coming from their direction. All done. They were working with Momochi Zabuza to kill the old drunk. Anko jerked her thumb in the direction of a nervously sweating Tazuna. Interesting. Do you have anything to add to that, Tazuna-san? Kakashi asked the bridge builder. Alright, the truth is that I lied about the mission, but I had no choice. Wave had been taken over by a corporate tyrant known as Gato. He controls all the shipping lanes around Nami no Kuni now. His thugs run rampant over our entire country, doing whatever they please, and our economy has suffered greatly. The bridge I am building is our only way to break free from his tyranny, and the only protection mission we could afford was AC rank. Tazuna explained. Well, that's sad and all, but if it was known that there would be ninjas after you, this would have been AB rank and a proper squad of ninjas would have been sent. As of now, we are operating outside our duties. Kakashi told him. We're not ready for this kind of mission. Let's quit so Hokage-sama can send a proper team to accomplish the mission. Sakura added, since she was terrified at the prospect of fighting enemy ninjas. Are you stupid or just a moron? Naruto's voice interrupted their small chat. What did you say, Baka? Sakura screeched with a tick mark on her abnormally large forehead, causing everyone to cover their ears in pain. Our team had just returned from AB ranked mission when your team entered the office, or have you forgotten? Naruto replied once the ringing had left his ears. But you can go back if you want, but our team is going to continue the mission regardless of how much they paid, because Gato is a scum that deserves to die. Naruto growled slightly, causing Tazuna to look at him gratefully. I agree with the Dobi. An Uchiha such as myself will not back down from a mission. Sasuke grunted with a voice filled with arrogance, causing everyone except Sakura to roll their eyes. Whatever you say, temp bastard, we should get going while the coward can stay with the two prisoners until Leaf Shinobi come to get them. Naruto directed his gaze at Sakura. And no, I'm not a coward. I will show Sasuke-kun my strength. Sakura thought to herself before shaking her head and informing the group that she will continue with the mission as well. So isn't this Gato one of the world's wealthiest people and owns Gato Company? Kakashi asked offhandedly as they walked. Yes, officially he runs a large shipping company, but secretly he sells drugs and other illegal items while using ninjas and gang members to take over businesses and countries. He is a very nasty man. It was about a year ago when he set his eyes on Nami no Kuni. Through money and violence, he quickly took control of the country's shipping industry. Gato now has a monopoly on all business traffic in the country. The only thing he has to fear now is the completion of the bridge. Tazuna replied with a sigh. I see, since you're the one building the bridge, you're in his way. Sakura deduced with her oh so large brain, causing everyone to roll their eyes. Gee, you think? Naruto responded sarcastically. A few minutes later, the two shinobi teams found themselves on a wooden boat being rowed along by a fisherman friend of Tazuna's. Wow, this mist is seriously thick. I can barely see ahead of us. Akane commented, but added inwardly. Unless I channel Yuki to my pupils to enhance my eyesight. We should be able to see the bridge soon. Nami no Kuni is at the base of the bridge. The fisherman stated as the group was just able to make out a blurred image past the mist. That's a big bridge. Naruto whistled in awe at the sheer magnitude of the stone bridge that had just came into view. Wow, it's huge. Sakura screamed. Hey, be quiet. Why do you think we're hiding in the mist and not using the engine? We'll be in deep trouble if Gato's thugs find us. The fisherman whispered harshly, causing Sakura to slap her hands over her mouth in embarrassment. Hey, this is the end of the line for me. I wish you good luck in your efforts, Tazuna and Shinobi-sans. The fisherman said as they alighted before rowing back the way they came. Hey, you guys actually got me back to my country safely. Tazuna sighed in relief as they continued walking, though Kakashi and Naruto were thinking about something. If we get attacked again, it will surely be a Junin-ranked ninja and not a Chunin-ranked one, Kakashi thought gloomily, since that meant he wouldn't be able to read his Ika. My enhanced sense of smell can pick up two distinct scents. One smells like iron and blood while the other smells like ice and snow. Naruto thought as he took discreet sniffs of the air that was only noticed by Akane and Anko. Naruto suddenly flung a kunai straight into some bushes off to the side of the road. Everyone tensed as he walked over slowly and revealed that it was just a white-colored rabbit. Naruto baka. Stop scaring us. And look what you did to the poor rabbit. Sakura screeched as she held the shocked rabbit to her underdeveloped chest. That was a snow rabbit. Its fur changes color depending on the amount of sunlight. White is for during the winter, so that means this is a rabbit that had been bred indoors for the purpose of kawarimi no jutsu, body switch technique. So the enemy is already here. Kakashi glanced around wearily as Naruto, Akane and Anko seemed to have come to the same conclusion. Everybody get down now. Kakashi shouted as he pushed Sakura and Sai to the ground while Sasuke pushed Tazuna down. Naruto merely drew his katana in a flash and deflected the huge cleaver-like sword into another tree trunk, where a figure landed on the sword's handle. The figure was a muscular man with pale skin, short spiky black hair, brown eyes, and small eyebrows. The lower half of his face was covered with white bandages like a mask. He was bare-chested except for a simple sword holster over his chest. He wore pinstriped pants and matching mimetic wrist warmers and leg warmers. Momochi Zabuza, the Kurigakure no Kijin, demon of the hidden mist. Naruto felt a grin stretch across his face at the prospect of fighting such a well-known master of kenjutsu to test himself. I'm flattered that you know me, but I'm afraid the only people I know from your little group would be Sharingan no Kakashi, Kakashi of the Sharingan. Zabuza chuckled, but he was thinking differently. This kid was able to deflect my blade with just a katana. He must either be freakishly strong or an expert swordsman, or both. Where are my manners? Uzumaki Naruto at your service. Naruto bowed dramatically before turning to Akane. Sorry Akane-chan, but I call dibs on this guy. I've been itching to fight a swordsman of Zabuza's caliber for a while now. Fine. Akane pouted before smirking at him. You owe me for this. Sure, I'll make it up to you tonight. Naruto kissed her on the lips before drawing his katana again and pointing the tip at Zabuza. Yo, Mr. Demon of the Mist. Let's find out right now who's the better demonic swordsman. I wanted to fight Kakashi, but my gut instincts tell me that you will be much more interesting to fight, but your flimsy katana won't be able to defeat my Kubikiribocho, decapitating carving knife. Zabuza smirked under his bandages. I wouldn't go and underestimate the strength of my sword if I were you. Naruto smirked as well. Good point. Zabuza admitted before kicking off the tree trunk and grabbing his sword free of it at the same time before landing on the lake's surface. Are you sure it's wise to let Naruto fight Zabuza on his own? Kakashi asked Anko, who was chewing on a dango skewer uncaringly. Naruto-kun can handle himself in a fight with that chump. Anko replied with a shrug and grin. What did he mean by Sharingan no Kakashi? Sasuke thought as he glanced at his sensei in confusion, but his unasked question was answered the next second. Would you or your student mind if I use this to observe the fight? Kakashi lifted his slanted headband slightly. Go ahead, it's not like you will be able to copy any of my students' moves. Anko grinned at the surprised look on Kakashi's face, but he just shook it off and lifted his headband up, revealing a scar running over the skin around his eye along with a Sharingan eye. Even he has a Sharingan and he's not even an Uchiha like me. Sasuke clenched his fists in anger that he had yet to activate his clan's famous eye bloodline. Ninpu. Kurigakure no Jutsu. Ninja art. Hidden mist technique, Zabuza whispered as he began emitting a large amount of chakra from his body, which started to create a dense mist around the entire area, effectively cutting off everyone's eyesight. So it begins. Naruto grinned as he shifted into a sword stance as the mist steadily grew thicker and thicker before the air became thick with Zabuza's killing intent. 8 choices. Liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys and heart. Which one should I go after? Zabuza used a technique to amplify his voice, which coupled with his impressive killing intent caused Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna to start sweating in fear. What an incredibly dangerous key. It feels like I'll be killed if I make a single move. That's how heavy the air is right now. Experiencing this for a while is enough to drive a person crazy. The intensity of an opponent like him, It feels like my life is being squeezed. I can't take it. I'd almost rather die now and get it over with. Sasuke trembled as he slowly lifted his kunai to his neck. Wow, and I thought only the Haruno was a coward, but apparently your whole team are cowards. Kakashi. Naruto chuckled as he pointed his katana at Sasuke. Looks like you really are an emo ne. Don't worry, Uchiha. While I may not like you in the least, I won't let you die. Yet. Naruto's words seemed to have shaken Sasuke out of his suicidal thoughts, and Kakashi shot him a grateful look, but Naruto had already returned to finding Zabuza. We'll see about that. Zabuza shouted as he suddenly appeared in the middle of the genins of Team 7 and Tazuna and was about to swing his Zanbeitu when Naruto's form appeared in front of him and slashed through his body. Mizu Bunshin, water clone, Naruto whispered as the body in front of him burst into water before he switched his katana to his left hand and blocked a side swing of Zabuza's blade. Not bad, Gaki, brat. Zabuza grunted as he shifted his weight and kicked out with his left leg, but Naruto caught it with his free hand before it could connect. Not so bad yourself. No brows. Naruto chuckled as Zabuza grew a tick mark on his head while everyone else snickered at the nickname that Naruto gave the missing nin. What did you call me? Zabuza roared as he pulled his leg back and jumped back a few paces. You heard me. No brows. Naruto switched the katana back to his right hand and beckoned for Zabuza to attack him with his left. That's it, Gaki. You're dead. Zabuza dashed straight at Naruto with a series of slashes that Naruto managed to avoid or deflect with his katana easily. Naruto grinned as this was exactly the kind of sword battle he had been looking for. He blocked a right swing and slammed a palm into Zabuza's chest. Zabuza stumbled back a few steps and coughed but recovered in time to use Kubikiribocho to block a vicious combination of attacks from the blonde he was fighting. Zabuza parried a strike before bringing his huge blade above his head and slammed it down onto Naruto, who managed to block the blow but grunted at the amount of strength it took. Zabuza grinned underneath his bandages as he drew his leg back and kicked Naruto straight in the stomach since both his arms were occupied with blocking his blade. Naruto's eyes widened slightly before he vanished in a column of smoke, causing Zabuza to pitch forward slightly due to the lack of resistance under his sword suddenly. Zabuza quickly pulled his sword back and looked around for his opponent when a dark chuckle escaped from the surroundings. 8 choices. Liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, neck vein, brain, kidneys and heart. Which one should I go after? Naruto imitated Zabuza with his demonic voice whilst releasing his own killing intent. Does that sound familiar, Zabu-chan? Zabuza gritted his teeth as he tried to pinpoint the so-called genin that could match his strength, and his eyes widened as he snapped his head up to see a descending Naruto. Kuroryu no Koka. Black Dragon's Descent. Naruto used the momentum of his fall to power his attack and unsheathed his katana at the last moment, impacting directly against the flat of Kubikiribocho. Zabuza was thrown backwards by the force of the blow. He stabbed his blade into the ground to prevent himself from flying any further and pulled himself upright. That's a pretty good attack, kid. Now try mine. Sweeten. Mizu Kamikiri. Water Release. Rising Water Slicer. Zabuza channeled his water affinity into his blade before pulling it out of the ground in an arc in Naruto's direction. A fast jet of water shot straight through the ground directly at Naruto. The jet was so strong that it literally split the ground it traveled along. Naruto quickly leapt directly up into the air, but it appeared to be part of Zabuza's plan as he had finished forming several hand seals. Sweeten. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Water Release. Water Dragon Projectile Technique. Zabuza shouted as the water in the nearby lake started forming into a giant water dragon that roared once before shooting straight at Naruto. Naruto cursed as he didn't have enough time to counter with a high enough spell since it needed incantation, so he sighed. Looks like I have to reveal you sooner than I thought. Naruto mused as he held his katana straight in front of him and started concentrating on his Ryutsu. Kurayami Kara Nukedasu, Kagekote. Emerge from darkness, Shadow Emperor. Naruto whispered as his katana turned completely black in color before he stabbed himself with it, earning gasps from everyone in the area. However, instead of piercing him like it should, the black katana seemed to sink into his body. Zabuza was startled when he saw the kid stab himself after whispering something but relaxed when he noticed that his water dragon had impacted into the kid. Water sprayed across the sky and rained back down to the earth, but no sign of Naruto could be seen. Everyone looked frantically around for the demonic Shinigami. What's the matter? Did you lose something? A demonic voice asked with amusement as everyone's head snapped over to the voice and gasped when they saw a Naruto, who looked much more different than normal. Naruto was now completely shrouded in shadows so that only his outline remained along with a pair of glowing amethyst eyes. What the? Zabuza eloquently expressed what was on everyone's mind. I see you noticed my new look. Naruto grinned, but you couldn't see it, causing everyone to give him a deadpanned look. Technically you are my enemy, so why should I be revealing anything to you? Let's just say this is a special ability of my sword. Now let's get wild. Naruto dashed towards Zabuza with his hands held outward and two shadow katanas materialized within his grasp and he swung them both at Zabuza, who caught both blows with his larger sword. Naruto smirked as several sharp tendrils erupted from his shadow on the ground and attempted to impale Zabuza, but he managed to leap back in time. What the hell is this kid? Zabuza thought mentally as he swung his huge butcher knife again and again, repeatedly hacking apart the shadow tendrils that chased after him, but they just kept regrowing. Naruto vanished in a blur of speed and appeared in front of a panting Zabuza and punched him into a tree with a large shadow fist. What the hell are you? Zabuza coughed out blood that stained his facial bandages red as he lay injured against the base of the tree. Me. I'm your death. Naruto formed a shadow spear in his hand and was about to plunge it into Zabuza's heart when two Senbon came flying out of the tree and piercing Zabuza in the neck. He stiffened for a moment before slumping down. Sorry, that would be me. A surprisingly soft voice said as a hunter nin with a Kurigakure symbol on his mask emerged from the forest. I thank you for your stance, Shinobi-san. I have been tracking him down for quite a while. You are a Kurigakure hunter nin. Naruto stated simply as he released his Shikai, initial release, and bent down to check Zabuza for a pulse. No pulse. Must mean he's dead. Most impressive. You are correct. The masked ninja nodded in Naruto's direction. Hunter nin. Sakura voiced aloud, having found her voice again. Yes, my duty is to hunt down missing nins. I'm a member of the Kurigakure hunter nin forces. The masked ninja replied before vanishing in a swirl of leaves and landed beside Naruto next to Zabuza's dead body. In this world, there exists people younger than you but stronger than me. Kakashi said wisely to Sakura, who looked confused at the young hunter nin. Your battle is now over. And now, if you will excuse me, I have to dispose of this body since it has many secrets that I cannot let fall into enemy hands. Farewell. The hunter nin placed Zabuza's arm over his shoulder and vanished in a swirl of leaves. There was something fishy about that hunter nin. She was the one that smelled like ice and snow, but why only come out after the battle is almost done? Naruto mused to himself before realizing everyone was looking at him. What? What do you mean what? How come you never told me your sword could pull some cool shit like that? Anko poked his chest repeatedly. It slipped my mind. Naruto offered lamely, causing Kakashi to give him a thumbs up and Anko and Akane to facefo at the lame excuse. Dobi, I demand you give me your sword. A weapon like that belongs in the hands of an Uchiha. Sasuke arrogantly demanded as he held his hand out to Naruto. Sasu, Kakashi was about to reprimand his student when Naruto held a hand out to stop him. You want my sword? Well, come and get it then. Naruto said with an emotionless face, causing Sasuke to smirk as he stepped forward and tried to take the katana sheathed at Naruto's waist. Before he could even touch the handle, a spike of shadow shot out of the handle and impaled Sasuke's palm, causing him to let loose a girly scream. Sasuke-kun. Naruto baka, what did you do to Sasuke-kun? Sakura screeched as she tended to the wound on the Uchiha's hand while Kakashi merely sighed. Are you blind, Haruno? It was the idiot who thought he could take my weapon. It is no fault of mine that my weapon rejected him. Naruto snorted as he walked past the dazed bridge builder. Come on, Tazuna-san. You have to lead the way to your house. All right. Tazuna stammered as he took the lead and the rest of the group followed. 5 minutes later, Tsunami heard the rhythmic knocking on the front door and placed the last dish away before wiping her hands on a cloth. She unlocked the door and opened it to be greeted to the sight of her father and several strangers. "Tu-san." Tsunami cried out in joy and embraced her father before smacking him upside the head with a frying pan she pulled out of somewhere. "How many times have I told you to inform me before you leave?" Hey, sorry, but look. I managed to hire some ninjas and they continued the mission despite me lying to them. Tazuna announced only to get smacked with the frying pan again. That's not something to be proud of. Tsunami lectured her father before turning towards the group of ninjas, who had sweat dropped at the scene. "Sorry about my dad. My name is Tsunami and please do come in." Everyone had settled down in the living room soon after. Tsunami was busy in the kitchen cooking dinner so they were free to converse. "Kakashi-sensei, who was that masked kid?" Sakura asked. "That's the mask worn by the Kurigakure Special Hunter Nin Forces. They are also known as body erasers. Their duty is to completely dispose of the body without a trace. Ninja bodies have many of their village's secrets hidden within them. Information on different chakra types to herbs and other different things. For example, if I died, the secrets of the Sharingan could be revealed, and if you don't be careful then there is always the chance that the enemy could gain something," Kakashi explained. "A ninja's body can reveal important information, so by killing and disposing of missing nins who have abandoned their village, the hunter nins protect the information from getting out. They are the specialists that guard the village secrets." Naruto added, but looked like he was thinking about something else. "That's right. No sound. No smell, that is a ninja's end," Kakashi finished solemnly. "So that Zabuza guy has been chopped up and disposed of. Scary." Sakura shivered as the image of a pile of body parts appeared in her mind. Elsewhere, somewhere else in the forest, the masked hunter nin was kneeling beside the still body of Zabuza. Kubikiribocho was stabbed into the ground beside his head. "First I'll cut the bandages around his face, drain some blood and..." The masked ninja reached for a pair of scissors and was about to snip the bandages of when Zabuza jerked upright and caught her hand. "That's all right, I'll do it myself," Zabuza gasped out. "Oh, you've come back to life already." The masked ninja seemed surprised. "Damn, you sure are rough," Zabuza commented as he pulled the senbon out of his neck forcefully, each tug accompanied by a squirt of blood. "You shouldn't be so rough in pulling them out like that. You could actually die in that case," the masked ninja told him. "How long are you going to keep wearing that ridiculous mask?" Zabuza grunted as he seemingly ignored the advice. "It reminds me of the old days, plus it was useful for this act." The masked ninja slowly removed the porcelain mask to reveal a beautiful female face behind it. "If I had left you there then you would have definitely died." "No kidding, that kid was really something else." Zabuza bandaged his neck to prevent any more blood from seeping from the 2 puncture wounds. "Hi, what should we do the next time we encounter them?" she asked. "You won't be back to full mobility for a week at least, but you should be recovered sufficiently in a few days to move about." "Efficient as always, Haku." Zabuza eyed the girl beside him. "That's how you trained me, Zabuza-sama." Haku giggled in response as she helped him back to the hideout. Back in Tazuna's home. "Hey Anko-chan." Naruto called out the snake mistress name. "What is it, Naruto-kun?" Anko turned to face her. "Student. Don't hunter nin normally dispose of the target's body directly on the spot?" Naruto asked. "Yes they do. You don't mean..." Anko exclaimed suddenly with her eyes wide as Akane caught onto their train of thought as well. "I see you came to the same conclusion as me, Naruto." Kakashi's eyes smiled, causing the remaining genin, except Sai, to look back and forth between Kakashi and Naruto. "What do you mean?" Sakura asked after her patience, the little amount she had worn out. What Naruto meant was, Zabuza is still alive. Kakashi replied as Sasuke looked surprised while Sakura and Tazuna were completely shocked. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto checked the body for a pulse and confirmed it was dead. Sakura stammered. That hunter nin used Senbon, a weapon that unless it hits a vital organ, it has a low possibility of killing your opponent. It's even an item used by doctors in acupuncture therapy. Hunter nins are required to know all about the human body, so putting a person into a momentary state of death is probably easy for them. First, the hunter nin carried away the body of the much heavier Zabuza rather than destroy it on the spot. Second, he used a weapon that has a low probability of killing. These two facts indicate that his motive was not to kill Zabuza but to save him. Kakashi listed out his reasoning. Aren't you putting a little too much thought into this? Tazuna asked, hoping that it was just the ninja's paranoia. No, all these evidence state that Zabuza is definitely still alive and kicking. He will probably be healed by the end of the week and be back, probably with reinforcements. Naruto sighed inwardly as he saw that Sakura looked ready to shit her pants. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take a nap. The day has been pretty exhausting for me. Naruto walked up the stairs to the second floor of Tazuna's house where the bedrooms were. Akane made to follow him but was blocked by Sasuke's hand. Why are you following the Dobi when you could have an Uchiha? Sasuke smirked, his trademark smirk causing several reactions through the room. Sakura looked ready to explode. Kakashi face palmed. Anko smirked as she knew what was coming while Akane merely stared at him. And exactly in what way are you better than Naru-kun? Akane lifted an eyebrow as she crossed her arms. I'm an Uchiha, we are the elites of the village and everyone else pales in comparison to us. Sasuke declared arrogantly. Then Mr. Elite Uchiha, why didn't you detect the genjutsu puddle, or why did you try killing yourself when Zabuza appeared? Akane asked rhetorically, causing Sasuke to grit his teeth and clench his fists. That won't happen again when I activate my Sharingan. He boasted, causing Akane to lift him by his shirt's collar and slam him against the wall, and she punched Sakura dead in the forehead when she tried to save her. Sasuke-kun. Listen well, Uchiha, because I am only going to say this once. You are nothing but an insect compared to either me or Naru-kun. You are a coward who expects everything to be served to him on a silver platter just because of your name, but you know what? Akane grinned and revealed her elongated canines. I hate Uchihas and I hate the Sharingan. With that said, Akane slammed him against the wall once more and then tossed him on top of his number one fangirl before climbing up the stairs. What was that about? Kakashi asked Anko, who merely shrugged. Something about her past. Ask her if you want to know. I think I will be heading upstairs as well. Anko replied as she stood up and made her way up the stairs as well, leaving Kakashi with a blank-faced sigh, fuming Sasuke and unconscious Sakura. You guys are going to need some serious training. Kakashi sighed as he inwardly cried anime tears as he looked up at the ceiling. Kami-sama, why do you hate me? Naruto was sitting on the edge of his bed when he felt a pair of arms encircle him from behind. He smiled slightly as he recognized the owner's smell. Hey Akane-chan. Naruto greeted the demoness and leaned back into her embrace. Something bothering you? The Uchiha tried to get me to be his mate, arrogant fool. Akane replied but pushed Naruto back down onto the bed as he growled and attempted to rise. Don't worry, I put him in his place already. I'm beginning to think I should have just let the little arrogant bastard kill himself. Naruto said as he shifted his position so Akane's head was on his lap and ran his hands through her blood-red hair. I think so too. Akane giggled as Anko entered the room as well and laid her head against Naruto's shoulder. What were you two discussing? Anko asked curiously. Nothing important. Just wondering if I should have let the arrogant fool commit suicide. Naruto shrugged slightly as he didn't want to disturb Anko's resting spot. But it isn't as satisfactory if the little bastard takes his own life. Anko mused as Naruto used one hand to rub his chin thoughtfully. I guess you're right, Naruto admitted. Hey Naru-kun, was that your Shikai? Akane asked seriously after a small moment of silence. Yeah, it was. Naruto replied after a slight hesitation. Wow, hold up. What's a shikai? Anko asked in confusion. You know that this is my Zanpakuto, right? Naruto lifted up his sheathed katana and getting a nod from Anko. Well, each Zanpakuto has two separate, special abilities. The first is known as Shikai or Initial Release. Shikai differs for everyone and no two people can have the same Zanpakuto. It effectively increases your combat ability by at least double or triple depending on how strong your Shikai is. That's a lot of power. Anko whistled in awe. Yes it is, but there is still the second stage, which is simply known as Bankai or Final Release. Bankai allows you to access more special abilities, usually an improved version of your Shikai, but sometimes they can be completely different. Bankai boosts your power level by at least 5 to 10 times again depending on your Zanpakuto. Naruto explained. Wow, so have you achieved this Bankai thing yet? Anko asked. Unfortunately no, but I'm close. Naruto stared at his katana before looking at Akane. I know you have a Zanpakuto as well, so do you have Bankai, Akane-chan? Well I do, but I haven't used it in several centuries already. Akane's hand strayed to her own Zanpakuto which hung at her waist. I see, Kage-kote is the strongest shadow Zanpakuto. Naruto smirked as he felt his Zanpakuto hum in agreement. Well, we should probably go down for dinner. Naruto and his team walked down just as a small boy walked up past them. Naruto gave Kakashi a curious look as there was a fuming Sakura in the room. That's Tazuna's grandson Inari. He apparently lost someone important to Geto and thinks that we are going to die as well, so he told Sakura that and she blew up at him. Kakashi recounted what happened, causing Naruto to nod in understanding. The shinobi teams sat down at the dinner table as Tsunami began setting the dishes on the table. They quietly dug into their meal with murmurs of gratitude. Tsunami-chan, let me help you with the dishes. Naruto offered as everyone left the table after they had finished. That's quite alright Naruto-san. There's no need for you to help. Tsunami blushed a little at the handsome young man calling her name with the affectionate suffix. Nonsense. Think of it as my way of saying thanks for the lovely meal. Naruto gave her his foxy grin, which just caused her to blush further but conceded to his help in the end. So Naruto chatted with her about Inari as he helped her wash the dishes. He learned all about Kaiza and how he was killed by Geto. I see, so that's what happened. Yes, unfortunately Inari has never been the same since Kaiza's death. Tsunami sighed as she wiped the last plate clean and gave Naruto a small smile. Well Naruto-kun, thank you for your help. It is my pleasure to offer my services to such a beautiful young lady such as yourself, Tsunami-chan. Naruto grinned as he kissed her hand before leaving the kitchen, leaving a blushing Tsunami behind. Gaki, isn't two girls enough for you? Naruto turned around to see a grinning Tazuna leaning against the wall. Let me think. Nope. Naruto smirked at his reply as Tazuna chuckled. Kid, I would like to thank you for protecting me and still continuing the mission even though you didn't have to. Tazuna said seriously, but Naruto just waved it off. Think nothing of it. Naruto replied before heading back to his room. Naruto opened the door to see Akane sitting on their bed and blinked. Didn't you say you would repay me tonight, Naru-kun? Akane cooed as she sauntered up to him and pressed her bare body against his clothed one. That I did. Naruto smirked as he kissed her passionately on the lips as he began removing all of his clothing. He was so engrossed that he forgot to apply a silencing seal to the room. As a result, not many people managed to get much sleep that night, especially one mother whose room was right beside the couple's. Zabuza's hideout. Haku sat on a chair overlooking Zabuza's condition when she heard the door creak open. She turned around to see Geto and two of his lackeys with him. So even the mighty Zabuza has come back defeated. It looks like the Kiri ninjas are really pathetic. Geto taunted as he walked in. You can't even avenge your own men and you call yourself a demon. Don't make me laugh. Zabuza chose not to reply to the midget tyrant. Hey you, reply when I'm talking to you. Geto reached out to grab Zabuza's bandages but yelped when he felt someone grab his arm forcefully. Don't you dare touch Zabuza-sama with your filthy hands. Haku glared at him, causing both of Geto's samurai guards to draw their blades, but they found their swords at their own necks in an instant. Haku had instantly moved from sitting in the chair to snatching both their weapons and positioned them at their owners' throats. You shouldn't do that when I'm angry. One more chance. If you fail one more time, then you won't be getting paid. Geto shouted before leaving with both his bodyguards. Haku, you didn't have to do that, Zabuza murmured as he revealed that he had a kunai in his hand the entire time. I know, but it's too early to kill Geto because they will be after us again if we cause a commotion here. We must be patient. Haku smiled at him, causing Zabuza to feel the strange urge to ruffle her hair like a proud father would, but he quickly shook off the thought. Yeah, you're right. Zabuza drifted back to sleep.